Hi everybody, I'm Karen. I just want to tell you my story today, and I was a 20-year-old 34 and a half years ago, and I stupidly got into a car with a guy that had been drinking after begging him for me, to let me drive, but he wouldn't, so I got in thinking I was invincible. We had a horrific car accident. I was then left with what they call a complete dislocation of the occipital. So the axis had come right off, and everything else, I was very lucky because everything else was severed, but my spinal cord wasn't. So I was left with spinal cord damage, but it wasn't severed. They couldn't understand what was wrong. They couldn't find anything and kept telling me it was soft tissue damage. But after 5.5 years of going to people in South Africa, in London, in America, they eventually found that I had this, complete dislocation, and they eventually apologized on behalf of the entire medical profession that it had taken them so long, but their reason being that they'd never seen it out of the morgue. So I was very lucky. They then didn't know how to reattach me, so they took time to get the best minds in the country to sit around and decide how to do it. And what they did is they took titanium, they attached my skull to my vertebra, and then they took bone from my hip and grafted on either side. And it was a success. Unfortunately, with spinal cord damage, I also had, my vertebral arteries were impinged. So everything was trying to go through one vertebral artery. On this side, it's just on the x-rays and that, it's just one line. There isn't even a tube. So, and obviously migraines, paralysis, all sorts of, obviously a lot of pain. And I've just gone on with my life, done what I can when I can, went against the odds and had 2 beautiful children. And along with my support of my amazing husband and my family and friends, I've carried on with my life. I've kept trying new things. I've done whatever I could. And then 1.5 years ago, I decided that I now had had enough of operations and, pain relief operations, and I was going to do the best I could to get a quality of life back. I was just getting worse. So anyway, a few months ago, in January, end of January, a friend of mine had been to see Mill, noticed a huge difference in her, and suggested that I, try this tiny little stem cell patch. And there we go. And Nina was very nervous to tell me because she knows how excited I get every time I start something new, and then I get disappointed. But eventually she decided it was my choice, and of course I tried. And I'm just here today to tell you that it has literally given me my life back. My life is totally transformed. Myself and everyone who knows me just is flabbergasted. After not being able to drive for the last 12 years, after spending most of my days in bed, waking up every morning paralyzed, I am now living a normal life. It's been hard, 34 years, living in a certain way, always having to plan things, always having to let people down because I can't make it. But, I have kept trying. But now, it's a totally different thing. Next week I'm going up to my son's graduation in Pretoria. I mean, it's just absolutely phenomenal. I just want to point out some major changes. Obviously straight away, not straight away, after about 10 days, I stopped waking up paralyzed every morning. Then I noticed that, I had more energy. Then I noticed that I wasn't swelling as much. We used to all call it my gills, because I used to be swollen, and that used to lead to nausea, to vertigo, falling over and all that, and terrible migraines. That's all disappeared. Also, I started through the years, my titanium is like barbed wire, and it has created scar tissue around it, and I would get stuck and be in excruciating pain and then have to wait until I could actually move again. About a month or so ago, I started getting the tingles, but then the pain didn't happen and I didn't stick. And that carried on for about a week or two. Now that is gone. So I'm convinced that it has now worked through my through my scar tissue. The other huge difference is at the base of my neck, I had a huge ball. My vertebra looked stuck right out and was just covered in a huge muscle ball. Well, a few weeks ago, I was putting my patch on, and I thought I'd put it in the wrong place because I couldn't feel that ball. And my structure has changed. It has completely changed. So it's just incredible. I mean, those are the significant changes. On a more superficial level, my sunspots are disappearing, my wrinkles are disappearing, and it's just incredible. So if anyone has any questions, please get hold of someone that's part of LifeWave, because these stem cell patches have literally changed my life. Thanks so much for listening to my story today, and have a good one. Cheers, bye.